Buddy, I think it's 10 o'clock, maybe a minute after, so we'll all get started with this. It might be a long day. So, you're gonna stay to the end too, right, Roy? Darn. Can you take me with you? All right, Lisa, are you good in pacing?
Yes, sir, we are.
All right. And YouTube's good? Ladies, you just tell me when you're ready to start. We're good to start. All right, welcome everybody to our regular meeting, Tuesday, April 4th, 10 o'clock, just a few minutes after 10. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and if Supervisor Humphrey, if you'll lead us in the pledge, the invocation will be by Pastor Garrissey from First Baptist Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. Father, I thank you that he is the Lamb of God which taketh away the sin of the world, and he is the King of kings and Lord of lords. And in this world that has chosen to put evil over good, it's good to know that there's still hope in Christ Jesus. Father, I pray for the men, the women that make decisions for our county, that they would make decisions in the fear of the Lord and for the good of the land. Father, you are a good God to us, and I love you. I love you for the beautiful day, the day of life. But as always, I love you for the free salvation you give through your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you, sir. Kathy? Okay, so we're going to start this with public hearings on 2A. Information, discussion, action to review the goals, objectives, and policies of the Gila County Public Housing Authority, PHA, and authorize the chairman's signature on the various required forms related to Gila County PHAs for the fiscal year 23 annual plan. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Chairman Klein, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Humphrey. This public hearing is to recertify basically our Housing Choice Voucher Program, our civil rights, fair housing initiatives. This belongs to, and we have to do it every year per HUD regulations. This belongs to our 5-year plan, and in, I think it's 2024, you will have someone here rewriting or revising our 5-year plan. It's basically a strategic plan. The residents or participants were advised of this public hearing if they had any concerns or ideas, different things that they want to see us do. If you have any questions, I'm sorry.
Okay, Melissa. Supervisor Humphrey, do you have any questions for Melissa?
Mr. Chairman, Melissa, I have no questions. Thank you.
And Supervisor Christensen?
No, thank you, Melissa. I have no questions.
And neither do I, so at this time, I'll open it to public hearing. But Lisa, do you have anyone in Payson?
No, sir.
No one on YouTube? And no one here, so I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to authorize the chairman's signature on the various required forms related to the Gila County PHA for fiscal year 2023 annual plan.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
On to number 2, information, discussion, action to consider a liquor license application, county number LL-23-07, submitted by Andrea Dahlman Lukowitz. How do you say that, Sam? Lukowitz. For the transfer of a Series 6 bar license with an intern permit to operate at the Roosevelt Marina, 28085 North Highway 188, Roosevelt. and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and control whether the license should be granted. Sam?
Thank you, and good morning, Chairman Klein and board members. As stated, this is a Series 6 bar license application with an interim permit to operate for the Roosevelt Marina located in Roosevelt. The county does have an internal review process whereby the treasurer reviews the application and ensures the applicant is current on property tax payments for all properties owned in Gila County. The Health Department and Building Permitting Department both review the application as well. To date, there have been no issues reported for the Roosevelt Marina. The clerk of the board's office recommends proceeding with the public hearing, and I can take any questions.
Supervisor Humphrey, any questions?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Nor do I, thank you.
And neither do I, so at this time, I'll open it for public hearings. Lisa, no one in Payson?
No, sir.
Okay, no one on YouTube and no one here, so I'll close the public hearings and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve the liquor license submitted by Andrea Lokowitz for the Roosevelt Marina.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Sam. Moving on to 3, regular agenda items. 3A, information, discussion, action to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the Gila County Sheriff's Office and the Globe Police Department to participate in the Gila County Drug, Gang, and Violent Crimes Task Force for fiscal year '23, and authorize reimbursement from the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission grant received by Gila County not to exceed $40,000 for the salary and benefits for one officer assigned by the Globe Police Department to the task force. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. This is an agreement between Gila County and the City of Globe to put one police officer on the Gila County Drug Gang and Violent Crimes Task Force that we currently operate. What this will allow us to do is authorize reimbursement for their salary and ERE for the officer they have working with the task force. We will also be requiring them to put in the 25% match that we're required to for their one officer. So they'll be reimbursing us for that. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Sarah. Supervisor Humphrey?
Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Sarah. No, I don't have any questions.
The only question I would have, Sarah, is how many does this bring us up to on the task force?
So this is one commander, one deputy from the sheriff's office, and one officer from Globe PD right now.
We'll take everyone we can get, I guess, huh? Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Globe Police Department and the Gila County Sheriff's Office to participate in the Gila County Drug, Gang, and Violent Crimes Task Force for fiscal year 2023, and authorize the reimbursement from the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission grant not to exceed $40,000.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And you got another
Yeah,
one.
you
Cool.
got me for a while.
3B, yeah. Information, discussion, action to authorize the Sheriff's Office electronic submission of an fiscal year '24 speed enforcement overtime grant application in the amount of $25,000 submitted to the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety. Adopt resolution number 23-04-01 and authorize the chairman's signature on the certification form, all of which are components of the grant application. Sarah?
Okay, Chairman, members of the board, this is the yearly grant that we come before you for the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. You know, in past years, we've done equipment and different thing, pretty standard. We do overtime for either speed or DUI enforcement. This year, we chose to do a speed enforcement overtime grant for $25,000 for our officers to work special details throughout Gila County. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Supervisor Humphrey?
Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Neither do I.
You're good? And neither do I, so thank you for that. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the Sheriff's Office electronic submission of an FFY 2024 speed enforcement overtime grant application in the amount of $25,000 and adopt resolution number 23-04-01.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Sarah, you're sitting in for Travis then,
I
huh?
am,
Good. Okay, 3C, information discussion action to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval for the Sheriff's Office electronic submittal of a fiscal year 24 drug, gang, and violent crimes control grant application to the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission in the amount of $840,298.35 to renew granting that will be used for the salaries and benefits of the Sheriff's Office Drug, Gang, and Violent Crimes Task Force. Sarah?
Again, this is the yearly renewal for the task force. This is fiscal year 2024. As you can tell, we're asking for $840,000 submitted to ACJC. With that, I'll take any questions. This covers salary and ERE.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Supervisor Humphrey?
Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
I have no questions. Thank you, Sarah.
So all this money's in support of the task force?
Yeah, so this funds the entire task force. This is the grant that funds them, minus the 25% match that the county pays out of general funds.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval of the Sheriff's Office electronic submittal of a fiscal year 2024 grant application in the amount of $840,298.35.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Okay, on to D, information discussion action to approve the distribution of secure rural schools and communities fund, which is force fees, of Gila County's share of the federal year 23 Secure Rural Schools Act funds as authorized through section 24 of P.L.114-10 for fiscal year 22 to 23. Using the same percentage splits as last year, roads 2.15%, schools 77.93%, and Gila County Education Service Agency 19.92%. Roy, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is the same formula that we use. It takes into account the, everybody gets a base level, and it also takes into account the size of the school. We made adjustments for the ESA, for my ESA, which we use for adult education, to subsidize that because nobody really wants to fund adult education. So it really hasn't changed. We don't know what it's going to be. It's been as low as $850,000 total, and it's been lately about 1.2 million. We always pray that they'd fully fund it to about 3 million, but that never seems to happen. But that's where we are. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Roy. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
I have no questions. Thank you.
So I got questions for you, Roy.
Sure.
So in the last few years, we've worked hard on these. Oh, I think we've got, 2 school districts that were hurting on their budgets? I think Tunnel Basin and Young. And Winkleman.
Yeah, Winkleman.
Yes. Okay, to start with, if they're still having issues, is there any way of working some of this money towards helping them, or?
Well, the problem is with changing the money, changing the formula, is remember that money, you don't know how
Right.
much you're gonna get, okay? And so if they begin to use that money, let's just say we change, we say we begin to use that money for something that is permanent to help them. What if it goes from 1.2 to 850 or
Sure.
700? You see, so I think it could work against it. And the other thing you have to say is, okay, so Young, let's just say Young, you need help on your budget, we're going to help you. And then you look at the Auditor General's report, and Young is 30% over any other school
Right.
in administrative costs that is even comparable. So the other administrators do look at that and they go, hey, what's up with that? you know? So could we? Yeah, we could actually give it all to Winkleman or Young, but I'm not sure it would be helpful in the long run.
So, yeah, and that's why I'm throwing this out, because, you know, like Winkleman, the worst part of that is the assessments from the mine.
Right,
That's where, and I remember that one year not very long ago, they're like $900,000 in the hole.
yeah,
I mean, that's a huge figure. Like Young is, a lot of it is because of ag status lands
right,
where they don't collect the revenues off of it.
right.
And Tunnel Basin, I don't remember Tunnel Basin. I mean, this has been an issue
Yeah.
you've been working on now for a while.
We worked
Exactly.
last year, really
Right.
hard on trying to get some movement on it.
Trying to get something as a fix for it, basically, and as best we could. But I was just curious if what we see here couldn't be changed, or even like the roads part of it, let's say the 2 point some %. I don't know that we've gotten a few dollars out of that, but how much would that really hurt if we didn't get the 2 point whatever % in roads and put it towards something else?
You know, so for that's your discretion.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't,
You
I
know?
mean, I don't have a lot of input into that. I would only caution that, or if you do say, all right, we're gonna take this 2% from the roads and we're gonna put it into the schools to help a school. You have to say, well, okay, is it gonna help all the schools, or is it gonna just help that one school, and then how much is it gonna be?
So I understand what you're saying, Roy, but I remember too, and I believe it was Roosevelt School was real close to making their budget the last time I paid attention to it. So if you were to help Roosevelt per se, that's one less school we have to worry about, not having their budget met. And so I'm just throwing
Yeah.
this out there
Yeah.
because year after year, for 6 years, we've rolled in here and we've done the same thing. And as a board, we go to DC and we push for all this and we plead our case, and it's good. I am totally happy that we get this money. But I'm just curious, and maybe somewhere along the way, we could have a work session and talk about different ideas. I'm just throwing these out from my standpoint is all
Yeah,
I'm doing.
I agree. I think we could have a work session. However, I would still submit that this is supplemental and discretionary and subject to change.
Yep,
And I think the root of the problem is lies on the permanent funding.
100%, don't
Arena.
disagree.
So I think any fix that we would try and do with this would be limited because of, the vicissitudes in the funding, and then the, in terms of fairness, between the schools, how much is it actually gonna change it?
Well, and I don't know, Roy, I don't know that, and as you know, I've said many times, your guys' budget is beyond something I've ever seen before. And so, it's a hard one to follow and figure out. I just see that if a school in Gila County, regardless of where in Gila County it's at, is having issues, maybe there's some way, and maybe you could fix it or help, not fix it, but help this year and not next year. Those are just ideas I wanted to throw out,
Agree.
and see. James, did you have something?
I do. A little bit more information on the allocation to roads. Gets even more complicated. The appropriation is for schools and roads. And it complicates it further because whatever goes to roads, whatever the Board of Supervisors allocates to roads, means that it is retained by the county. So it's a federal dollar, Secure Schools, part of PILT. So what they do is whatever amount that the Board of Supervisors allocates to roads is retained by the county, considered retained by the county, which means that our PILT payment in lieu of taxes, our PILT payment is reduced by dollar for that amount. So if we were to retain for roads $25,000, our PILT payment that we get annually is going to be reduced by $25,000, whatever that amount is.
Okay.
There are, because it is an allocation appropriation for schools and roads, The Auditor General has looked at this in the past where somebody said, a county says, well, we're just gonna allocate $1 to roads because we can take the general fund appropriation and just put that to roads if we want, instead of having to reduce our PILT. But the Auditor General in their audit say it has to be a meaningful amount. Now, what is that defined as? I've never heard a definition, but it has to be something that maybe can do a project. Maybe it's $10,000, maybe it's $25,000. I don't know. That is something that can be determined. It has to be something can actually be done to help the roads department.
So that information there, as far as taking money out of roads and putting it somewhere else, and then we take a reduction in PILT payments later, is something I did not know about. I'd never heard that before, so that's good information. That's good to know. I'm just saying that, or just throwing this out on the table for us to start thinking about, if we want to or not. But if we have anything in the county that's anywhere as far as schools, because kids are, you know as well as anybody, kids are very important, that if there's any way of trying to, I don't know, help them, even for, like Roy said, this isn't the fix, and it absolutely wouldn't be a fix. You know, the fix is what Roy's been trying to accomplish, and which my hat's off to him for trying to do that, and that's through legislation. So anyway, I just want to throw that
Well,
out there.
I would only offer one caveat, and that's that sometimes you hear a part of the story from the party that feels like they're really being shorted. What you may not hear as supervisors, and you know this, is that sometimes there's a story behind the story about fiscal responsibility and their auditor general, long-term fiscal responsibility, auditor general reports and budgeting where maybe my office has really worked with a school district hard and put stuff down and made suggestions, and yet that school district chronically is way short on the budget. And so that's a story that I don't tell because, you know,
Right.
And at the same time, that's a story that you might hear from a different perspective in visiting with that party. Does that make sense?
Totally, because I live by the fact there's three parts to every story. Your side, my side, and the truth.
Yeah,
You know,
and
I
it
mean,
lands somewhere in the middle.
we don't ever, very rarely do we ever get the full
Yeah.
spectrum of it in one go. I mean, very rarely.
Yeah.
And that's where I see benefits of like work sessions and stuff like that can be, we can sit and talk and think. I don't even know where these schools are this currently with their budgets. I don't know. This was 2 years ago. But, so I just wanted to throw this out as you know, if there's an opportunity, is there not an opportunity? You know, but thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the distribution of secure rural schools and communities funds, force fees, the Gila County share of the fiscal year 2023 Secure Rural Schools Act funds as follows. Roads, 2.15%, schools, 77.93%, and Gila County Education Service Agencies, 19.92%.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Roy.
Okay.
We'll visit soon.
Thank you. I really do have a Zoom meeting, so I,
Okay, I'll be right behind you. All right, moving on to E. I'm gonna read this agenda item, and then I'm gonna ask for a motion to table it. And so E is information discussion action to adopt resolution number 23-04-02, which authorizes the grant of an access easement through the Gila County Star Valley Road Maintenance Yard to the United States of America by and through the Department of Agriculture Forest Service. Homer was set to present it, but for other circumstances, we need to table this, so I need a motion to table it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to table at this time item 3E.
For reasons unknown, I'll second it.
Thank you. Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. So we'll get back to this at a later date.
Thank you.
On to F, information discussion action to approve modification number 001 to USDA Forest Service Road Project Agreement number 22-R0-1103-1200-232 for Forest Restoration Initiative Control Road Surfacing to allow engineering and design work in the amount of $75,000 and $1,425,000 for paving construction of Control Road, Forest Service 64 for the total agreement amount of $1,500,000. Homer, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and Board of Supervisors. Back in 2020, we signed an agreement with the Forest Service to maintain roads for them. Added on to that master agreement in 2022, the Forest Service came to us and said they had $1.5 million for a paving project on Control Road. And the paving project is centered on the intersection of Control Road and Houston Mesa, about a half a mile to the east and a half a mile to the west, for a total of 1.03 miles of total paving. The $1.5 million was to pay for design and construction of the paving project. It was very clear in the agreement that we had with them that it focused on the construction. What we've gone back to the Forest Service and said of the $1.5 million, and we believe $1.5 million should be adequate for paving 1.03 miles, that we would like to use some of that money for designing of the road. So we've asked them to set aside $25,000 for geotech, $50,000 for the actual design of the road. They've agreed, and this is the amendment that we're bringing to that agreement to you. The total money doesn't change, it's still $1.5 million, except that we're taking $75,000 out of the $1.5 million to undertake the design. The rest is gonna stay for construction once we have the design completed. And so with that, I would like for you to consider approving the motion as presented.
Thank you, Homer. Supervisor Humphrey.
Mr. Chair, Homero, I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Homero. No, I have no questions.
So, Homero, thank you for all this. This is a good project. This is actually a project that came about from the Forest Service. And it is in a good location right there, and it'll help alleviate some dust and some other issues right there. So, thank you for all that, Homero, and with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve modification number 001 to USDA Forest Service Agreement number 22-R0-1103-1200-232 as presented.
And I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Homero.
Thank you.
On to G, information discussion action regarding premium rates in the Arizona Local Government Employee Benefit Trust for Gila County Employee Insurance and Benefit Plans to be effective July 1st, 2023 as followed. Adopt Schedule A, Employee Insurance Contributions for fiscal year 24, attached to this agenda item. And Maren, good morning.
And the other attachment, the one called, that one, Schedule A. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Humphrey. This is our annual update on the Arizona Local Government Employee Benefit Trust rates. When we last met, you agreed to continue the ongoing membership in AZLGEBT, and Mr. Menlove brought that before you. As part of that, we agree to follow the bylaws and requirements of that, which means that the county will pay at least 90% of employee coverage. And so we have structured this attachment to show you that. So while you're looking at that, I'll just go over a little bit of the background information here. In 24, there will be a 10.71% increase to premiums, which will result in a $7.27 per month increase in single coverage premiums for employees and a $41.06 per month increase for family coverage premiums for employees. There will be no increases in medical deductibles or copays. Open enrollment for the plan will take place May 1st through 31st and will be a passive enrollment, which means that if you don't do anything, your enrollment continues. We will also have in-person events on May 4th, which is a Thursday here in Globe, May 5th, which is a Friday in Payson, and that will include staff from Gallagher, Aaron Collins and Associates, who will have information regarding health insurance and anything else that our staff would need for open enrollment. And flyers will be coming out soon in that. And we do want to just reaffirm that the county subsidizes the premium cost 90% for single coverage, 76% for family coverage for fiscal year 2023, which includes the HRA, which is health risk assessment subsidy that applied to all insured employees in fiscal 2023. For 2024, this proposal proposes continuing to subsidize the premium cost at 90% for single coverage and 76% for family coverage. The HRA subsidy is applicable for participating employees. And our recommendation includes medical rates increasing by $7.27 for a total combined medical, vision, and dental coverage cost of $74.28 per month for employee-only coverage, and an increase of $41.06 for a total combined medical, vision, and dental coverage of $422.41 per month for family coverage. We would reconfirm the Gila County base contribution for the HSA, that's the health savings account, at $10 per month for single coverage and $25 per month for family coverage. That's only available to individuals participating in the HDHP, the high deductible health plan. And then we would also reconfirm the dollar for dollar matching contribution into the HSA system up to an additional $40 per month for single employee and $75 per month for family coverage. Happy to answer any questions, and I know that we have Rick Husk and James Menlove here if there's questions about how the benefit trust arrived at these numbers. They were both at that meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Supervisor Humphrey?
Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Oh, I'll ask a question, I guess. Thank you, Marin. Yeah, we were here last year, I think it was about 8%, now we're at 10%. And so within 2 years, 18% increase. So is there any relief in sight for this, what seems like an out-of-control increase? How can we sustain this? Is this just happening in the industry? Is this inflation? Is this punishment? What is this?
So, for your reference and just for the public reference, attached and a little further down on the bottom here, we do show 2022, 23, and 24 per paycheck cost to employee impact. So the increase from 22 to 23 was from $32.25 to $33.50. And then from 23 to 24 will be from $33.50 to $37.14.
Okay.
Whatever you think about federal regulations and economic policy, this isn't really the right forum for it, but this is affected by that.
Actually, yeah, okay, so that's encouraging. I thought we were,
So, yeah,
Going up a lot more.
it feels like a lot, and it
Yeah.
is, right? But
Well,
when we
it's-
look at it over the cost spread that way, it is a little bit less jarring to see that, okay, in 2 years' time, it's not even $5 per paycheck increase for your individual employee. For family coverage, that amount is up $31 in 2024 compared to 2022. But it does still break down to $31 a paycheck as opposed to,
yeah,
it's not 10.7% of your salary.
right, okay, that's helpful. So So this increase is passed on to our employees, and I understand the whole 90% thing. Is there an impact to the county then, budget-wise?
Yes.
So it's impacted at 10% as well?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right, so that's a much larger figure. Yeah, okay, thanks, that's all I have, thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, James.
Sergeant Christensen, if I could, we repeatedly during the trust meeting were told that inflation, of course, inflation is high, but that inflation that's typical of the rest of the country is not necessarily applicable to the healthcare industry, that frequently the healthcare industry is rising faster than regular inflation. So if we've got a 6, 7, 8% that we've had the last couple of years, then the healthcare industry will typically be 10, 11, 12% of inflation. I will say this, though, that in our county managers meeting that we met with money monthly, I asked the rest of the county managers, what are you doing with raises for employees? And what are you doing, what does your health insurance look like? And there was a surprising number, maybe a quarter of the counties that expected no increase with health care. And I didn't ask the question because it's difficult. Every insurance company, every insurance deal is separate, and they have their own factors. But there were at least a quarter, maybe a third of the counties that were expecting no increase in health care. So it's really entity-driven, our trust-driven of what our costs, because we are a self-funded trust. Are we having high-cost plans where somebody has cancer that has to be treated, and those, run into hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we've had a number of those in the last couple of years. So those things are all driving cost. The factor is that was discussed is, well, we could knock that down to 9% or 8%. That compounds in the future, that if we don't go where the trends are showing and what the costs are, that it makes it very difficult to catch up if we don't do our very best to stay current. We are in a trust with 4 other counties. They are smaller counties. In fact, Gila County is by far the largest county in the trust, maybe up to over 40% of the total participants. So it's just inflation and high, can't tell if somebody's going to get cancer, those kinds of things that we have to cover because we are self-insured.
Right, thank you.
I'm good, Marion. Thank you. That I entertain a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll move to adopt the Arizona Local Government Employee Benefit Trust Schedule A, Employee Insurance Contributions for fiscal year 2023 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, it's for fiscal '24.
Okay,
Sorry, but we already adopted 23 a year ago.
can we change that motion then? All right, let's redo that.
To reflect 24.
Yes. We have a typo, yeah, so I kind of was.
Well, no, it's, the suggested motion that I have says, employee insurance and benefit plans to be effective July 1st, 23 as follows. Adopt Schedule A, fiscal year 24 attached. So if perhaps my copy doesn't reflect correctly what yours has?
Well, let me try it again then. I move to adopt the Arizona Local Government Employee Benefit Trust Schedule A Employee Insurance Contributions for fiscal year 2024 as presented.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that as well.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Marion.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before our employees say, oh, well, there goes insurance rates and it's more coming out of our pocket, we have not discussed and don't have a plan at this point. But we have to make sure that we are covering this, that employers are not going to see a cut in pay. We will be bringing that as part of the budget. This is just one of the factors that we have to pull into that. So we will be working on a pay package for employees and that they will not see a decrease in their paychecks.
Okay, I appreciate that, yeah.
That will definitely help. Thank you, James. On to H. Information, discussion, action to approve the Copper Corridor Blight Buster Coalition submittal of a grant application in the amount of $1 million to the Environmental Justice Problem Solving Cooperative Agreement Program, and to approve the Board of Supervisors Chairman's signature on letter of commitment. Kathy?
or Chairman Klein, Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Christensen. This is asking your blessing today on this application for more EPA dollars, Environmental Protection Agency. This is kind of a follow-up. If you remember when the Copper Corridor Blight Busters, when we first came to you about a year and a half ago, we said that we would continue on with the activities that we started with the first grant application. We're about halfway through that one. Some of the projects, I'll give you just a brief update on that that project. So far, the buildings that have been helped with this is the Superior High School. The coalition went in, well, our contractor went in and did surveys of lead-based paint and asbestos, and then they went back in and remediated those from the school. The Copper Corridor Blight Buster encompasses, the whole Copper Corridor. So anyway, the buildings that were helped there was, and on the next ones being helped are the Inspiration School in Miami. Miami, I think, has some plans for that for low-income housing or affordable housing over there. Bullion Plaza, which Bullion Plaza had been on the list for a while with ADEQ, and they were able to continue their project there. And then on the list waiting to be helped is the Willow Motel, the Town of Winkleman Giffen Building, and the Globe Medical Building, which City of Globe is going to turn into a their new fire facility, fire department. So those are some of the things that were accomplished with the first grant. But all the first grant could do was to have the studies done for what's there, and then, do the second assessment for the testing that actually showed, yes, we suspect that these are environmental hazards and we can remediate. This grant will actually do a lot more than that. And the reason for this one, and this is actually a new grant program through EPA. So this one will be able to address it's set up to address communities that have been affected by environmental harms and risks, which the Copper Corridor, because of mining being a predominant industry there, they qualify for this grant program. The other thing that's affected the Copper Corridor, which we're going to address in this application, is the mining tax structure. We're going to do a study, or if we're awarded, a study will be contracted out to look at that and see how that could be changed. So maybe legislation could be drafted to get passed to help those communities, because they get a very small percentage of the monies that are generated by the mines in their area. So we're hoping that that'll help as well. The other things that we can help with this that we couldn't do in the first grant is we can clean up muddy titles. So a title to a property that's not clear about who the owner is, we can pay for title searches to. Oh, I think I turned it off. We can clear up muddy titles that, the properties sit idle and they continue to deteriorate because nobody claims them. Well, we'll be able to step in there, the communities can step in and clear those up and move them on to getting them, tested and abated and torn down if that's what we need to do. This grant also, what's good about this one is we can demolish buildings. In the first one, all we could do was test and abate, but in this one, we'll be able to have enough dollars to demolish those buildings if they can't be saved. And then again, the lead and asbestos treatment. We have to, through the process, engage community members and property owners, so we find out all the different buildings that could be around in the area that we can address. And then the other thing that I thought we would be excited about, because I think each one of you have been involved in the illegal dumping situation that we have throughout Gila County and throughout the Copper Corridor, we'll be able to fund some cleanup activities with that. So in the past, where I believe Supervisor Humphrey and Supervisor Klein have had to pay for the dump fees for those, we'd actually be able to pay for that, and we could either hire someone to do it or again have a volunteer activity where we could pay for the dump fees out of this money. When you look, what we've also built into this is that we'll be able to be repaid Amy and I have a certain percent of our salaries that will be charged to this grant, so it won't be out any general fund dollars for Amy Staten and myself. And project partners are non-subrecipients, so these partners don't receive any monies. All the money goes to Gila County. Copper Corridor communities of Superior, Miami, Globe, Winkleman, the unincorporated areas of Pinell County that border down into the Copper Corridor. Supervisor Jeff Surdy of Pinell County signed a letter of commitment to join in that as well. State departments, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, then the other Superior Chamber of Commerce and Globe Miami Chamber of Commerce. Part of the grant requirements for this is that we involve community-based organizations in this that will help us get the word out to the community, help us to identify buildings or areas of concern. Each one of those community-based organizations will receive $100,000 out of the grant funds to help us with those activities, which is really of a benefit to them because some of them, really struggle with how much money they have to operate, and this will help them help us. The two community-based organizations that we've identified are Rebuild Superior, which has done a lot of work in Superior on their deteriorated buildings and houses, and then the Copper Corridor Economic Development Coalition, which serves all the way from Superior down through Mammoth and on to San Manuel. So they'll be able to help us get all the word out there and help us to set up community meetings too. Okay, that's it on that one. The county, or the funding covers county staff time and travel. The contractual services that we've listed in the application or title searches, property abatement, cleanup of non-hazardous materials, lead-based surveys, abatement, the mining distribution study, asbestos abatement, demolition, and then we'll also have an oversight contractor, just like we did in the first grant application, that helps keep us out of trouble, and then they keep the program running and come back to us time and again for our schedules and our activities. Okay, next one. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions, Supervisor Humphrey?
Yes, I do. Copper Corridor, is spread out, and I understand that part of it's Pinal and part of it's Gila. In part of your conversation, you said all that money goes to Gila County, so I was wondering what money goes to Gila County, and I was also wondering who makes the decision, because you covered a wide variety of things that this money can be spent on.
Mm-hmm.
Who makes those decisions on where this money's spent and what projects it's spent on?
The coalition does. We get together. The first grant that we did, we had to provide a list of properties, and this one we weren't asked to provide a list of properties, but the partners, we do Zoom meetings probably once a month, and we submit different projects. They'll submit different projects, and then we prioritize those
Okay, and
projects.
who's on that coalition?
On the coalition is the City of Globe, the Town of Miami, Town of Superior, Town of Winkleman, Gila County, and Pinell County.
So it's made out of from
Everybody,
entities within the county.
yes.
Okay.
And Pinell County as well. I will say, just as a caveat to this, that Pinell County is part of the first grant application that we did that's currently in process, and they have not submitted one project. So the only Pinell County area to benefit from the first application was Town of Superior, and that's because they applied on their own or submitted their project on their own.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there any match money?
No.
with this? Okay, that's great, thanks.
Kathy, good job.
Okay.
So the Blight Buster Coalition has done a remarkable job on a lot of projects, and there's still a lot of projects to go, so. And what's real encouraging is Supervisor Surdy on the Pinell County side is willing to step in there and help and do what they can as well to help with all this, so. So it's a really good endeavor to do all this. So thanks again. That I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the Copper Corridor Blight Busters Coalition's submittal of a grant application in the amount of $1 million to the Environmental Justice Problem Solving Cooperative Agreement Program and to approve the chairman's signature on a letter of commitment as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. On to I, information, discussion, action to adopt proclamation number 2023-01, proclaiming April 23 as National County Government Month in Gila County with this year's theme of Counties Rise, Resiliency, Inclusion, Solvency, Empowerment, and showcase how the county achieves healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. James?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Humphrey. National County Government Month is held each April and is an annual celebration of county government. The theme for this year's celebration of National Counties Government Month is Counties Rise, Resiliency, Inclusion, Solvency, and Empowerment. Under NACO President Denise Winfrey's theme, NCGM is an opportunity, a moment to elevate our work and educate citizens on the importance of county government. Residents deserve to know about the many ways our work touches their lives and the broader framework of intergovernmental partnership, where we county leaders deploy local, state, and federal programs on the ground. Our role is broad and deep, and there is much to say. Think of how our communities rise. Resiliency refers to our focus on the future and our determination to serve our communities, even as they grow and change. Inclusion focuses on programming that ensures no one is left behind, especially those who have historically been underserved. Solvency means fostering economic mobility opportunities that help residents and communities prosper. Empowerment is a commitment to sharing resources, educating, and informing one another. Winfrey's presidential theme ends with an exclamation point, because we must tell these stories with the passion and energy that convey the commitment of county governments to the communities we serve. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll read the proclamation. Proclamation number 2023-01, a proclamation of the Board of Supervisors of Gila County, Arizona, proclaiming the month of April 2023 as National County Government Month in Gila County, with this year's theme of Counties Rise. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, serving more than 330 million Americans, provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties fulfill a vast range of responsibilities and deliver services that touch nearly every aspect of our residents' lives. And whereas Gila County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas under the leadership of National Association of Counties President Denise Winfrey, NACO is highlighting how counties rise, demonstrating exemplary resiliency, inclusion, solvency, and empowerment. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Gila County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as National County Government Month.
Cool. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Supervisor Humphrey, questions, comments?
I have no questions, no comments.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. No, I have no questions.
James, thanks for putting all that together. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to adopt proclamation number 2023-01.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
On to J, information, discussion, action to review all bids submitted for requests for proposals 0718222, permit management software solution, and award to the lowest, most responsible and qualified bidder, which is Central Square Solutions, and authorize the chairman's signature on the award contract. Good morning, Randy.
Morning, sir. So on August 2nd of 2022,
the board approved us to send out a request. Advertising was done in the newspaper on August 10th and August 17th in the Payson Roundup. The RFQ was due on September 7th. We actually received 17 different sealed bids. We had a committee put together of community development and the prime users, and IT was also reviewed, and health department was also scored. We had bids from 1 million down to where we're at today. So there was a vast array of numbers. Scoring revealed that Central Squared, by the way, Central Squared is represented by Trackit, which is our current system. So they were bought out over years, and that's now Central Squared is the parent company. We entered into some negotiations, and we were able to lower the price by at least $23,335. Trackit was purchased by Gila County in 1997, is when we started using it. We've had minor upgrades during that time, but we're still on .NET, which basically means everything's sitting on a server, and hopefully that doesn't crash or do whatever they do, but they're becoming extinct for .NET. And this is going to be a web-based, cloud-based system now, where we will be able to have customers do their own public records research, do their own parcel numbers, and they can pull out their own site plans and all that stuff from a remote location. So it actually helps with COVID also, that we'll have less people actually needing to come into the office. They can do it all from their office. They'll just set up an account, they can get in and access everything, which will help in community development, building department needing less FTEs in the future. You would be surprised how much time and effort goes into public records request. We have several companies that don't even keep records because we have them. And so they just come in, throw away their stuff, come in and just get new stuff each time they need something, which does take staff time to do that in the future, along with digitizing, which is a whole other part of this, but they'll be able to look it up, print it out, and have it at their office and be able to do whatever they do with it. This will take about 9 months to a year to get switched over. We're switching over basically everything from 1997 to the cloud and moving all that over. So as you can imagine, that takes a little bit of time. That's every permit, every inspection sheet, every C of O, certificate of completion, all that stuff will be switched over. There will still be some limits there. There's still some information that'll have to probably be redacted and dealt with as we go forward. But that's obviously going to be a much less of an issue moving forward than anything else. With anything else, be more than happy to answer any questions.
Randy, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions, Randy, and I think that's a good thing, for the realtors and property, the people that are looking to buy property or something, they can do the research on the property themselves. My standpoint, though, is like a lot of times, every time I go to do something, somebody gives me a job. And so this is kind of like, if you need something, go get it yourself, which that's just the way our whole world's going. And so I can appreciate it, what it's going to do for the county. But as a consumer, it's like, okay, that's all I need is another job. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. So did you say what the low bid was?
This is the low bid. It originally started off at $161,575.
Oh, okay.
And again, we pulled them in because we are basically considered a .NET primary user, which is the first users. So we're beta. So we demoed a lot of stuff for them. They use us as guinea pigs. And since we were there and
have been there and been faithful. We were able to knock that down from the 161 down to the one, it's actually 103 for the system, and then there's 38 in maintenance that goes along with users. This will also, we currently pay by users now. What this is going to allow is the county's gonna have 30 users, and that can switch. So in other words, it's only 30 users on the system at one time. So I could have 100 people signed, or they are capable of using it, but sometimes you don't need it, right? I mean, Homer could use it if he needed to, but he's not on it all the time. So we're only paying for the 30 users that are actually on it at one time. So that'll help in the maintenance cost moving forward.
And is this ARPA money that we're using?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I believe that's where Mr. Minlove is pulling it from. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Randy.
I think I'm good, Randy. Yeah, so thank you for that.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, James.
30 users, that's just internal, that does not include the public. If the public are coming in and using the system from the outside,
Correct.
that does not count in the 30 users.
Correct. The 30 users are full service users. A contractor would be considered a part-time user, and he can go on anytime, day, night, 2 o'clock in the morning. He forgot to look something up, he can go in, pull it out, and that does not count as a main user. It will only be staff members, and there's certain accesses we can provide, and that will be those 30 people. Same thing, let's say that Supervisor Klein wanted to get on there and look at a piece of property. He creates his own account, he can go look at all those properties. It doesn't count against our 30 users.
Cool. Good. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, we're going to need the total amount of the contract on the motion, or just approve the?
I would say the total amount needs to be on that motion.
So I believe the total amount is $138,240.10. Make sure we get that 10 cents in there, sir.
Okay.
Got it?
Mr. Chair, with that asked and answered, I'll be happy to give a motion.
We're ready.
I move to award a contract to Central Squad Solutions in response to request for proposal 07182022 and authorize the chairman's signature on the award contract for $138,240.10.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Randy. Okay, number 4, consent agenda action items. Do either one of you have anything there you want to address separately, or?
Mr. Chair, I'm good.
I'm good as well.
I'm ready for a motion.
Okay, so I'll move to approve consent agenda items 4A through 4I.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Number 5, call to the public. Lisa, you there by yourself? Any call to the public?
I'm by myself, no call to public.
Okay. Anyone on YouTube? No, we're good. How many do we have on YouTube today? 19? Okay. And no one here that I see. So with that, we'll move on to our updates. Number 6, James, do you want to start that?
I will, Mr. Chairman. 2 items that I want to address that I participated, there's a Northern Gila Economic Development Committee that meets monthly, sponsored by the town of Payson. Went to their meeting, and Calvin Johnson, chairman of the Tono Apache Tribe, related to the group of all their plans. Sounds fabulous, and expansion of the motel, doubling their hotel, their rooms that they have there, converting some of the rooms to meeting space, which I think will be a tremendous benefit. In Payson, south of the event center, the tribe also has an area that is part of their reservation, and they are planning to expand over there and include a lot of really good things that will benefit the community. So that was exciting to hear from Chairman Johnson. Also, yesterday was on with Miss Belling, with KMOG up in Payson, the radio station, and I think it went okay. Had a good discussion about budget and finance that we have here at the county. Had a number of callers too. It was was kind of surprising because when you start talking budget and finance, it can put people to sleep. So it was a good conversation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, James. Supervisor Humphrey?
Attended a Lincoln Day luncheon up in Payson. That was well attended. Also attended the NRCD, Stuart, you're the president of. That was well attended as well. I was glad to see that with the information presented. And I'll hold a Tonto Basin community meeting tonight at 5 o'clock. That's all I have.
Supervisor Christensen?
Yeah, thank you. Not a lot. I was at the Lincoln Day Luncheon as well, and you guys did a great job on the radio. I listened in. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So, last week when I bailed out of the meeting early, me and James and Kathy went to the Capitol and I presented at the Senate Appropriations Committee, and that was on behalf of the Veterans Center. And so, no questions were asked. It passed 7-1 in the Vet Center, so now that's the last for presenting or doing any of that. It's just gonna run its course as far as I know now, and we'll see what happens at the end. But it's on its way on through the Senate, so that's good news. Saturday, I was also at the Republican luncheon in Payson. It was a good turnout, pretty big crowd there. I don't know the exact numbers, but there was a lot of people there. And good speakers. And then Sunday, we held our NRCD meeting at Roosevelt at Hayhook Ranch, right there in Spring Creek, right below Spring Creek store. I don't know, Tim, 50 people maybe, somewhere in there. It was a good turnout, had really good speakers, and hopefully everybody had a chance to take something away on as far as an NRCD and what it does. The NRCD board is wanting to do more of these and get more of the word out there, what its mission is actually what it's gonna do. And so I believe that was good. Yesterday, Monday, I was at the Arizona Association of Conservation Districts, the AACD legislative event in Phoenix, back at the Capitol. My task for the day was to brief Senator Bennett on the advantages of a bill that's going through. It's HB 244. And what that bill does is it creates a mechanism in the state to actually pass money to NRCD districts from like state money, which would give the NRCD districts the advantage of leveraging for federal money on grants and things like that. And so, not sure where that one's gonna go. It's pretty close to whether or not it's gonna pass or not. There's right now, there's no money really attached to it. It's just the mechanism of doing this. And so we'll see. Yeah, right now it's on the Cal side of the Senate or the Capitol. So we'll see if it goes on. It was a good turnout. There's quite a few of us there from the different NRCD districts, and AACD was there as well. It'll be a really good thing as far as all the counties and everything goes. If they can do that to give these districts more of an opportunity to gather up those grants. And then we had the staff from facilities and Kathy and Sherry probably, I'm almost sure, did the final furniture selections of the admin and office building at the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. And so that's all done and should be there, yesterday? Yeah. No, it's exciting to see that furniture will be there real soon. And that's going into the big building right there. The bill on the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat on the Hill in Washington, D.C., it was dropped on Friday, I believe it was. And Senator Crane was going to make an announcement Saturday, but he didn't do it. But anyway, the bill in the House was put in, and the bill in the Senate went the same time last week. So they're dropped, they're in, and so now hopefully it can start running through its process, which I think one of the first steps will be to come up on the natural resource side to be heard and whatnot. So that's real exciting for that. The Senate bill was co-sponsored by Senator Sinema as well, which she had done that last year. And I believe Manchin had done it last year as well. I don't know if Manchin did it this year or not, but chances are he did. So with that, that is all I have. Does that prompt anything from you guys? You good? We're good? James, you good? Okay, so number 7 is work session, and we've got enough time to dive in there and do that. So 7A, information discussion, reading an update on the activities of the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat and Gila County Fairgrounds. And James, you're gonna kick this off with an introduction, I assume.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as we have 2 facilities, Veterans Retreat and Fairgrounds, that need a skill set outside of what mine is, that we are wanting to sponsor events, promote events, and to be able to draw people into Gila County. In discussions with the City of Globe, Mr. Walt Bratton has been working with the City of Globe on their pool and being able to develop that and making sure that it meets the public needs. And in conversations with Mr. Bratton, he is, I believe, City of Phoenix? Yes. Had worked with the City of Phoenix in their Parks and Recreation Department, I believe director of the 5th, 6th largest city's Parks and Recreation Department, that he has more experience, more ability to determine what recreational activities, what things we can do, and how we can strengthen and support the amenities that we do have in Gila County. So I wanted to have a discussion of what does it look like with you as a board in a work session, what does it look like for the fairgrounds, and how do we organize ourselves to be able to sponsor events, develop and organize events, and be able to promote those things within Gila County. Same thing with the Veterans Retreat, of being able to, how do we organize ourselves and have that discussion with you as members of the board of what direction you would like us to take as staff of being able to promote those, at least those 2 and further and more on down the road. So with your permission, Mr. Chairman, we would like to hand this over to Mr. Bratton.
Absolutely. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to present to you this morning. A little bit about me. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I'm a retired Parks and Recreation Director. I have worked on contract as professional services consultant for the City of Globe, doing pool administration and several other special projects and initiatives for the mayor, the city council, and the city manager's office. I have my bachelor's degree in Parks and Recreation Management, and then I also have a master's in public administration and a second master's in Parks and Recreation Administration. And I've also served as a director of Parks and Recreation all across the country. I was actually the first Parks and Recreation director a long time ago for the town of Queen Creek when there was 2,110 people work there, and that's obviously changed in the last 28 years. So I'll just go ahead and move forward with the presentation. I would like to concentrate on slide 5 of 7. Those are the items that came out from the August 2022 public charrette with the community priorities and needs. I have talked with Mr. Menlove, and we spoke about infusing a marketing plan, an advertising plan, maybe a facilities attendant for the county fairgrounds, maybe some part-time staffing to assist with Joseph out there in the facility services management. But my whole goal today during this work session is to see what the 3 county commissioners would like to see for their vision and their mission for both the infusion of the county fairgrounds as well as the Veterans Retreat Center in Young. So I wanted not to have this session where I'm talking for 30 minutes. I wanted to have a back and forth because my whole goal at the end of this session is to bring your objectives and your goals and your action steps to fruition.
So we're game. So kind of got to be careful what you wish for, though. We could be here a while. So absolutely. And since we're going to start with the fairgrounds up there, what you got up there mainly, Tim, you want to lead this?
Yeah, we kind of had a meeting where we got the public together and just kind of came up with some ideas of things that people would maybe want to see happen out at the fairgrounds. And by all means, I'm definitely open to suggestions. We're pretty much centrally located in the state between, Shoalo and Phoenix and Tucson. And so, you know, for recreational value and for temperature, you know, 8 months out of the year, we're pretty tolerable to be outside. We don't get to 110 and 16 like Phoenix does, and in the wintertime, we don't get much below freezing, and if we do, it usually warms up during the day. And so, I would like to, you know, the fairground's sitting there collecting dust, and that frustrates me. At a lot younger time in my life, I actually worked out there when it was a very active place. There was horse races, there was gem and mineral show. It seemed like every weekend there was something going on there, and brought a lot of people to the community. And it's not doing that now. And so we've come up with some funding to put a second rodeo arena so that we can reach out to high school rodeo finals and things of that nature. And so I'm open for input of, you know, what could happen there. There's a lot of old buildings there that aren't being used. Could they be demoed and that property used for other uses? Other than, you know, some of the few in the front for our fair and things. But just to open that up and to get more going there. And yeah, if so someone with your experience and have organized recreations and parks and things, your input is valuable to us or to me, in recommendations of things that we could do so that we would have, as a board, a target to shoot for. More electrical for things to come up, or anything that we may need to get a goal in mind of where to shoot, would be extremely beneficial.
Supervisor Christensen?
I don't have anything to add right now. Thank you.
So I'm gonna just tag on to Tim. And so the fairgrounds for 6 years that we've been in these seats hasn't done much. And Tim's right. Back in the time when we were younger, it was very, very active and a lot of support for it. And we still have the support for it. We've lacked the activities. And so as a county now, we have stepped out there and made the commitment to help bring everything back up and brighten it up a little bit and start working on some different ideas and whatnot for functions. And I think it's gonna be really good. Tim's absolutely right on the location. The location is good and all that. And so we need to be taking advantage of that. And we really need to be bringing in these different activities. And I know that there's a lot. The one thing I would ask you, like when you were dealing with Queen Creek, right? It was Queen Creek?
Yes, sir.
Back before what it is today.
Yes,
So you've got a little bit of experience with small towns.
yes.
So that's a big plus, you know, and to work with the small town communities and ideas and stuff, that's really good. And so to me, the whole idea of the fairgrounds, from my outlook on it, is to make it as good as we possibly can and make it really, really shine for the county and the people here. And make it something that's very usable, that can be used at all different times of the years and all of that. When we had that meeting, we had a pretty good turnout that day at that meeting. It was good, and it was fairly active. You know, there's a lot of discussion back and forth. So all those ideas and everything that was put on that board are valid, I think. And so, I'm looking forward to seeing what you can come up with out of something like this and start putting together. Facilities wise, I know we've talked about that. You mentioned it a little while ago. It will be another big hit on the county as far as maintenance and whatnot. But that's something that I believe we as a county, we're not gonna back away from, you know? And so I'm really, really interested in seeing what you can put together and get it going. Tim?
Mr. Chair, if I may, yeah, and what's encouraging to me is someone with your experience in the things that you've done, because at this point, you know, perhaps a manager of the fairgrounds, where you could help the manager, you know, look at going forward and kind of things we need to do. And also too, we reached out to the public on a lot of these, on who would sit on a board. And because, as we get different things going there, whether it's 4-H or rodeos or high school rodeo finals or things of this nature, which may have boards per activity there, than to have a structural board that kind of, if any of these different boards of 4-H and things need something, they go to the board of directors, so to speak, with an employee there and your guidance. Then we could start reaching out in different directions. But just having the property and the facility, we're just kind of sitting there because, which direction do we go and where do we go for guidance? So like I say, with someone of your experience, then we could start forming those boards and start seeing things happen and get organized.
Well, those are clear marching orders. Thank you for the time to meet with you today, and I will work with Mr. Menlove and county staff and to start moving forward on some of those ideas and initiatives. And we will be back with updates.
James?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I could give at least an update, just in the last couple of weeks, the board did approve a contractor for the Veterans Retreat. And we have invested in a second arena and those kinds of things at the fairgrounds. What we're doing right now, kind of, may seem like we're not being active, but we are doing an evaluation. Supervisor Humphrey, as you mentioned, the electrical there that we can't even, when we put on the fair, we have to bring like 40 commercial generators just to have the electricity to put on the fair. That we're, Mr. Driscoll and Mr. Dickinson are doing an evaluation of the electrical and what it's going to take so that we can sponsor events. Without the electrical and the infrastructure, we're really at a standstill of being able to move forward. And so we need to get that, as soon as we can get that evaluation done, and we'll be bringing that to the board to allocate COVID dollars or the resources that we've been given for one-time expenses to invest in the fairgrounds. So that'll be forthcoming. Get our infrastructure taken care of, and then we can develop further plans. As you know, several months ago, we came to you about considering acquisition of additional properties that the State Land Department has around that area. The State Land Department, they'd encouraged us all along and said, yeah, go ahead and apply and all these things. And then they said, I think that we'll put this off for 10 years and wait because we think it'll be more valuable in 10 years and stuff. So we did have, another thing that we brought to the board was to contract with Kimley Horn, because Kimley Horn has said that they have worked with the State Land Department on these acquisitions all the time. They know what the State Land Department is looking for. And so we're going to work with the group that we have to be able to identify what the plan is and be able to work with Kimley Horn to make that presentation to the State Land Department, that we're not satisfied with waiting 10 years, that we are going to move forward. And I think as we get more substance to the plan of what we're going to do with that extra 280 acres, something like that, it will go forward with the State Land Department. At least that's my hope. So where we're at with Mr. Bratton is we just have had discussions at this point, and it sounds like that you want to go forward in this direction to be able to get the expertise and experience that we need to guide and direct us as we are moving these projects forward, to present and bring to the board a potential contract with Mr. Bratton to provide services and help us to develop our plan of how we go forward and develop these things.
So for my input on that, James, absolutely. It's, we're dumping some money into these projects. We have the 3 projects, this one, the vet center, and the justice or the courtrooms and stuff in Payson. So everything's going along good, but the last thing I personally want to see is us dumping a bunch of money and then dragging our feet on getting anything done. So on that's just, but one of the part two, going back to that 280 acres, let's say, is when it comes to the fairgrounds, obviously we don't have the option of waiting around waiting for that 280 acres. I feel like we need to go on with some kind of a plan for that site. But I think in the same token, we need to be considering what that 280 acres could mean to the fairgrounds when we start laying things out and deciding what we're gonna do. Am I not correct?
Correct.
So that's just something to keep in the back of our minds as well, because that would be a huge benefit to the county if we could collect up that extra land right there.
Absolutely.
So, Steve, you got anything you want to add?
A lot of good discussion, so I don't have a lot to add. So I think I would look forward. There's so many good ideas on this piece of paper right here that we would just start looking at a priority list and say, this is our target, this is what we want to do, and this is why. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
James?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, I might identify that on this list, there were 5 groups, and the very top one was a thing that was identified by all 5 groups. Second one had 4 of the groups identify that list of 4 items, and the second one, third. Next one down is 2 groups, and then the last one is, those were action items identified by one of the tables that participated.
Well, it's a good starting point, anyway. Do you want to talk about the vet site?
I would like to listen in about the vet site to see what the vision of that is.
We want to make it the best one in Arizona. It's
Okay.
pretty simple, but there's only going to be 2 of these sites in Arizona when this is all finally accomplished and done. There's one in Boulder Crest and Sonoyta, down there south of Bisbee, kind of right in there, and then this one. And so this one is the Boulder Crest in Sonoyta is a really, really nice place. They put a lot of money in it. It sits on about 32 acres right there. And it's really nice. And this one sits on 232 acres, and we're putting it together. It's gonna be just as nice by the time it's all said and done. The veterans site is for veterans. That's the priority, is veterans. Not to mean that we won't be having some kind of special events there off and on or whenever to raise money to support this project. The veterans site is also already has an established or just about established 501c3 board on it. They're just finalizing a few things and then they'll be there, they'll be in place. The county will own the site here hopefully sooner than later. That's what the bills will do for us in Washington. And so there's a lot of opportunities on this site. And what I would say, my suggestion is whenever we kind of get things settled with you, is that you're probably gonna need to come up there and take a look at it on the ground as well. But the one big question I would ask you, have you ever worked with military services programs, retreats, anything like that?
Army Corps of Engineers?
No,
Okay.
across the board. Like to have veteran groups come in and stay for a week or weekend, or have different services come in that would be provided for veterans across the rim country, anything like that?
Yes, in past practices I have in Parks and Recreation, special interest groups, veterans groups, community events, special events, rentals, reservations, et cetera. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the one big advantage Gila County has for this site is our facilities director, Joseph Dickinson. He is a veteran himself, and he's been very much a part of this. And so we have that opportunity to ask him questions and whatever too. But this site is pretty unique, not only from its location, but the roads getting there and everything else. So Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, like I said, it is for veterans, but I think your input too would be also very good at helping us with fundraisers to help fund a lot of the veterans going forward and the things going on there. Because like I say, once you've seen the place, it has a lot of potential for different fundraisers for outdoor usage and outdoor activities. And so I think that would, and like you say, your past experience with doing veterans things would also help us in attracting them and things for them, as well as fundraisers in between that deals for veterans. I think it would be a great opportunity.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you. This is a kind of a site that the time for it is right now. The opportunity is there, it's right now, and it will be the best in Arizona. I think it's going to be the best in the West. So there's not a lot of large veteran retreats around, but most of them focus on a specific aspect that the veterans may have, like PTSD maybe, or some other therapeutic thing. So to me, I envision this as just being a tremendous thing for families and for everybody getting together, having a rest, a good time, a peaceful place in kind of the middle of God's creation. You know, it's really a beautiful place. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
just a question. The trap range up there, do they do anything anymore, or have they just pretty much shut down?
They're still holding trap shoots there, Tim, but I don't know I don't know for how long. It's on like a lease, maybe year by year type deal, but I don't see them there a lot, you know. The range, gun range part of it, see, there's two parts. There's the trap shoot part and the gun range part. The gun range part, the lease has been canceled on that. And so the only thing there right now is just a trap shoot.
Yeah, I was just thinking going forward for fundraisers, that was something that was real active at one point in time. So do, like a veterans only trap shoot or something of that nature, not to put in a trap shoot at
Right, but to
at
do
the
it there.
one, but to have a veterans trap shoot for vets only or something of that nature.
So this site, so you know too, it has a lot of attention on it right now. And in the Rim Country, I've heard we have between 5,000 and 7,000 vets in the Rim Country. And this site isn't just for Gila County or Young, it's for whoever in the nation wants to use it, just like the one in Boulder Crest. And so they have reservations set up and scheduling set up and all that to come and use it. And I know that there's gonna be events that'll be basically focused on veterans that'll be in and out of there. To how many or whatever, I can't tell you right now, but there's a lot of different nonprofit groups from veterans, fishing groups of veterans to whatever that are looking at this site. And then there's gonna be just the events that we're gonna wanna do basically to generate funds to support and maintain this site. The county will basically maintain it as far as everyday maintenance and things go, but to operate it and everything, that's where the nonprofit board is gonna need to be making some money. So it's gonna be real interesting to see how all of this plays out and how it all comes together to pull all this off.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Could I just add something?
Absolutely.
The veterans, yeah, we have a lot of veterans in our county. But pulling from others, I mean, how many veterans ride Harley Davidson motorcycles? I mean, there's just vast amounts of them. They have clubs, they travel. I envision that kind of activity coming in. It's like we're gonna have a motorcycle week or whatever, and 100 guys come in on their motorcycles, and maybe there's they have a car club or anything, so it's gonna be similar to the fairgrounds. It's gonna have games, it's gonna have activities, it's gonna have something, and also a peacefulness to it. So just kind of the whole RV thing, I mean, there's just so many opportunities there. It's really great. Horseback riding, I don't know, there's just tons of stuff, so.
Yeah, hiking, bike riding, a lot of different things. Maybe one of these days we'll have a lake, huh, James?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
go ahead, Tim.
Depends on how you treat the water.
Yeah, there you go. So what you'll see is it's just loaded with opportunities, but I think it's real exciting for a county to have these two big projects coming off the ground right now and having things for our people and servicing other parts of our constituents and things. I think it's great. Also, the vet site has been supported by Fort Apache reservations, and we've talked to San Carlos about it too. So we're gonna have just a magnitude of different, groups and whatnot that'll be using this, so.
All right, well, thank you for your time, I appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
James, you're good on that? We cover it?
Yes.
Okay. So going on, we have an executive session, 8A, information, discussion action to vote to go into executive session pursuant to ARS 38431.03A3 to engage in discussion or consultation for legal advice with the Board of Supervisors attorneys, which is Jessica, regarding congressional and legislative correspondence and open meeting laws. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
I will second that.
Have a motion and second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We'll see you guys back here in a little bit. Okay. Sam, you just tell me when you're ready. YouTube up and going? We're good? Okay. Okay, we're good to go, so I'll bring us back in order and get to the right page. With that, I guess everything's said and done. All I need is to ask if there's anything else from you two. We're good, everything's good. So with that, it is 5-1. I'll adjourn the meeting. We're done. We are done.